Hey guys, today I want to share with you my latest routine in looking at new words and also taking notes of these new words. I want to reiterate why it is important to take notes, why it is important to look up words even. Basically, if you've spent time on read notes on social media, you've been familiar with the idea of input and how important it is and what it does to your English output. What I don't see talked about enough is how to process your input, because just watching any American TV show for the plot is also consuming your input. But if you don't process the words, if you don't take time to actually study what's going on, then it might as well be like watching a Chinese TV show. So what tools you use, what mindsets you apply are both equally important, if not more important than the amount of input you have. So first things first, I recommend using any dictionary with a solid background. So Longman, Oxford, Cambridge. The caveat is I don't usually recommend American dictionaries, even though I personally study American English, but I actually only used British dictionary. It gives you multiple definitions if a word calls for it. Unlike Google Translation or Youdao or Collins, Merriam-Webster, a lot of times it makes a definition way more complicated than it needs to be, or it's not extensive enough. When you look up a word on Google Translate or Google definition, sometimes a simple word may require several dozens of definition, but because it's a search engine, it doesn't take the time to break everything down. Words like go, get, take, hang, oftentimes phrasal verbs get reduced or neglected. Your best starting point is using Longman Dictionary. Now, it doesn't matter which version you use. It could be a Chinese English definition. It could be English definition like monolingual dictionaries. I personally have it on my phone, on my computer, on my iPad. I have dictionaries on everything that I use. With the computer version, you get a lot more features like activator, so you can look up synonyms and collocations. Lately, I've actually been using ChatGPT and similar AI chatbots to meet my needs there. If a word is really rare, a lot of times Longman or Oxford don't have a lot of information to explain how this word is used. For instance, the words I've been looking up lately have all been in the range of 10,000 to 20,000. Usually a word that range in Longman doesn't have much information. It doesn't have synonyms, it doesn't have sentences. So I've actually been supplementing my dictionary routine with asking ChatGPT. And more specifically, I asked ChatGPT, one, what's the range of this vocab? Because as you know, any word that is within the 3,000 range gets marked a specific color. So if it's on your computer, it's pink. If it's on your phone, it's some other color, right? It's a way for non-native speakers, particularly beginners like us, to instantly differentiate important words from not so important words. But I'm not super advanced. I'm not super beginner. A lot of words I look up are beyond the 3,000 range. If I don't ask ChatGPT, I can't tell how common this word is. Sometimes I'll be reading a fiction or I'll be reading a news article and there's a word and turns out it is between 20,000 to 30,000, then I just don't bother with it. The second thing I ask is its etymology. So it's prefixes, roots, and suffixes, anything that helps me identify a word or associate this word with some other word that I had learned before. So lately I learned the word soliloquy and its antonym, obloquy. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but both soliloquy and obloquy have the root LOQ. And I had learned the word loquacious before. So loquacious means you're very talkative. So loq or LOQ obviously means speak or language. In that case, having a root or knowing its etymology helps you quickly understand a word, and combining this new word with some other words that you had learned before helps you jog your memory. And the third thing I asked for is its synonyms or antonyms. That's optional. That's only when a definition of a word is very vague and abstract, even when you understand the Chinese definition. Or let's say a meaning, this word means some kind of angry, right? But you had learned the word angry before, and you want to differentiate between this angry, this new angry, or some other versions of angry that you had learned before. And that's when a synonym list really comes into play. Typically, it will teach you, hey, like you can only use, for instance, indignant in articles in formal situations, whereas pissed off or angry or mad are way more applicable to everyday conversations. So it gives you more information about the register, the situations that you can use certain words. Sometimes a word will remind me of another word that kind of looks similar but have nothing to do with this new word in terms of meaning, in terms of how to use it, but they just look the same. They spell the same. So I would also ask ChatGPT to provide me with that information so I can group these words together. Another thing that I could ask is register, 语境, context. What situations could I use this word? That's also important, especially when a word is not that complex in terms of meaning. So that's what I've been using ChatGPT for. And just to reiterate, 99% of the vocab that you look up, especially when you're a beginner, don't need to do all of that work. Just having a dictionary is fine. It's only when a word is so rare or after looking it up in a dictionary, you still are pretty uncertain about the word. That's when you ask ChatGPT. I want to say spend about 10 to 20% of your time looking things up in ChatGPT or any AI chatbots. So let's now talk about different modes of consumption, different ways of consuming a language material, different intensity. Let's say you're reading a book or you're watching a TV episode. Obviously, you're caught up in the plot. You want to see what's happening. You want to understand the content. You want to learn something. You're not invested in the language aspect of things. You're not trying to absolutely understand every single word, right? You need to ask yourself, why am I reading this book today? Today, it could be understanding the plot. Today, it could just be learning about the information. Today, it could just be reading Chinese subtitles. And then tomorrow or the next hour or the next time I consume the same piece of information, the same piece of language material, I also need to ask myself, okay, now I'm looking up words. How intense do I want to go? Then you have to ask yourself, okay, is this word worthy of relearning? Do I need to come back and look up ChatGPT? Do I need to come back and try to understand this word? And that's also an art and not an exact science. Obviously, you can't read something way more difficult than you can comfortably tolerate. But if it's too easy, then you're also not challenging yourself. You're also not exposing yourself to new information, to new words specifically. I typically aim for about 20 to 30%. And within the 30% of words that I don't know, I go through the process of, okay, what words in this particular page are crucial, are abstract, are more common? Even though in the beginning it might look like a lot of work, in the end, the words that I do emphasize somehow come up again in another context, in another conversation. And so through repetition, through making sure that I study the most common words, I inadvertently find ways to repeat this word. So find something that strikes that balance. And even that, you have to go through several rounds. The first round could be just understanding the plot, understanding the content. Second round could be very surface level, looking words up in a dictionary. Third round is actually pull out a notebook. It could be a physical notebook. It could be a digital notebook. And you actually take things down. 好记性不如烂笔头, right? Especially pen to paper kind of writing forces your brain to process information slowly as opposed to typing things out, right? When you type, sometimes you don't even know what you're typing. And so information gets lost in that process. Writing a sentence down, even when you're just copying, is a form of practicing output. It's just a very small and controlled and sometimes not completely original form of output. But that's what you want as a beginner. As a beginner, you don't want to be reciting a long paragraph or coming up with things to say on the spot. As a beginner, you want to have a reference point. That's what languages are about. You start out speaking a language the way that your parents would speak the language. You copy them constantly. Everything is copied in the beginning. And then it becomes a random assortment of words that you've copied from several other authors, several other speakers. But in the beginning, it is all copying. The secret to turning input to output down the line is that when you're practicing input, you practice output already. Speaking a sentence or copying a sentence from someone that you read, from someone that you heard is a great way to do that. And it kind of mitigates the sense of anxiety that you feel when speaking in public, speaking to a native speaker, because you're not really facing another person. You're not facing a being. You're just outputting to yourself. It's still in a very controlled way because you know everything you say, everything you write is going to be correct. And lastly, and I'm sad to admit this, I've actually not been able to sit down and consume a piece of material front to back, cover to cover. I've just been relying on the information that I consume anyway, podcasts or conversations that I hear or conversations that I overhear somewhere. As soon as I hear a word or read a word that I don't know, I'll look it up based on the spelling or based on how I guess it would be spelled and take a screenshot of the entry in a dictionary or in Google Translate, Google search. And once I have the time to consciously and extensively look up a word, say on the weekends, I'll pull up my photo album and go through all the words I've screenshotted, making sure that I don't lose anything. And this is where you have to think outside of the box too, because when you're looking up words, especially in the beginning, you'll constantly think of some other words, right? So it could be words in a definition, it could be words in the sentence, it could be words that you've come up with. Let's say you were going to study word A, but then the definition has a word B that you also don't understand. You need to think three-dimensionally. You can't just be dying on this one particular hill. You need to come up with a system in which you can at least down the line look up these new associated words, these new words that you branch out. And I typically like to use just a post-it note or a scrap piece of paper and then write down some other words that I want to look up later and just leave it to the side and then come back another day when you get the chance. I also like to use this app called Obsidian. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I've talked about it years ago, but Obsidian has a feature where it allows you to associate a word or a note with the existing note, there's this graph view feature where you can see all the words being linked to one another. I find that to be an accurate depiction of how words work in my brain. No one word exists on its own. They're all linked together like tree roots. Words are related to each other by its meaning, by its context, by its spelling, by its... Sometimes it's easier to remember a chunk of different words than one singular word. Isn't that crazy how memories work? I find that to be true in my experience. It's way harder to remember a word without context, without its neighbors, without its synonyms and whatnot. It's way easier to visualize that on Obsidian. You can even use a physical notebook. I personally do both. I think there's pros and cons to both methods, but give it a try. Try it out, see which one you like. And yeah, I think that about covers it. How I look up words in 2026 using AI, using technology. Unfortunately, Lawman is not really up to date, and really advanced vocab don't even have enough information. And so unfortunately, I have to use ChatGPT, even though ChatGPT could make mistakes too. So you have to cross-reference to different sources of materials, different sources of dictionaries. Make sure you don't over-rely on one single tool. And let me know how you've been taking notes of vocabulary. Or is this the first time you're hearing about note-taking and taking the time to use a dictionary? Hopefully, I've provided some new insight to language learning and processing this input. And hopefully, you can retain some output. You can have things to put out now. That is my goal. All right, thanks for watching this video. Let me know how it works for you. Is it more streamlined? Check back in with me in a few months, and I'll see you then.